The story starts with the protagonist Eita having a dream that he was a knight facing a dragon. He wakes up and his childhood friend named Chiwa comes looking for him. She says that she caught a bang and asks if he was okay. Saying that she was going to the market, she forces him to take her with him, and there she asks if he fell asleep while studying, and he admits that yes. She doesn't understand why he studies so hard if he got straight A's last semester, but he replies that he's not just trying to get the best grades. A conversation is repeated at night with her questioned him if there weren't any private colleges that were easier to pass than the public ones, and he replied that yes. So she says that he could stop studying one, but he replied that he would need at least 10 million to get into a private one, and he doesn't want to be a burden on his aunt. After dinner, Chiwa asks him if he knows a girl named Masuzu who recently arrived from abroad, and all the boys in her class were asking in dating. He says he knows, and she asks if he was interested in her, but he makes a fool of himself. The next day he does his morning ritual, which includes listing aloud his rules: that it was study first, love was unnecessary, and be careful not to think that he reverses the kibi. The short scene showing him going to school. There he sees a couple and asks his friend why everyone has love on their minds, and he replies that he is the only one who doesn't think therefore, but when asked about his parents the reason is explained. He says he doesn't care about his parents because they both found a new love and separate. That's why he hates love. Then the scene cuts showing Masuzu entering the house classroom and everyone mesmerized by his beauty. The teacher announces that the students in the class have changed tables, and Eita ends up falling in the back where he says he's calm. Who also ends up going to the back, and sitting next to him is Masuzu, and from then on, the students in the classroom start to keep an eye on him, calling him luck, but they don't understand why he just kept his face in the book and didn't look at her. But she gives him a suspicious look when she gets home. And making dinner comes up in the conversation with Chiwa, the fact that he now sits next to Masuzu and she is discredited. Back at school, he says in a narration that he didn't care about her and just wanted to study in peace, but everyone is looking at him for sitting next to her. He says that his goal is to receive a recommendation from his school to enter the faculty of medicine on a full scholarship, as that was the only way. He had to thank his aunt for taking him in after his parents did leave. He had had minimal interactions with Masuzu possibly, but feels she was looking at him. However, he doesn't look back, saying it was a love trap. However, she calls him by name and invites him back home with her after class. Yes, out of the blue. He doesn't understand why. After asking her why, she says it's because she loves him and her heart burns for him. Of course, the class makes a fuss about it, so she leaves, grabs him, and says he doesn't feel safe there anymore, taking him by the arm and walking away, hugging him. After they pass all the students on the street, he takes her to a corner and asks why she lied like that, saying he knew she didn't really loves him. She tries to pretend to be silly, but it's no use. She then says that she would tell the whole truth. Yes, she didn't really like him, but she explains that she asked him to date because she couldn't take it anymore, receiving confessions of love almost every time boys day, and keeps saying that he noticed he is different from the others. He asks why she doesn't choose one of the boys who pegs her on a date. That way the others would give up, but she explains that she wouldn't date them and starts talking to one very aggressive tone as if she hates love just like him. How no, she does, and says the same sentence he said earlier in the episode about hating romantic love, and that makes him widen his eyes in surprise. He then deduces what for the boys stopped bothering her and asked him to date her, and she revealed that he was right, saying it's no surprise he's number one in her class. He says he doesn't want to participate in it, but she says that with her fake boyfriend everything what he needs to do is walk her out of school, but he adds that the boys would be jealous of him and the girls would create rumors about it, but she says he's the only one who doesn't care about love like she does, that he wouldn't betray her, so it would have to be him, and says that he wouldn't let him escape. She blackmails him by threatening to leak his diary where he had several shameful things from when he was a child written. He even tries to take the diary from her hand, but she says she already scanned all the pages, so it was useless. With that, she continues to force him to be her fake boyfriend, and this rumor starts to spread around the school. Chiwa hears these rumors and runs out to confirm if it was true, while in a narration Eita said that she is a person who would not let this slip away. It is now that story gets really interesting. Chiwa goes to confront them about it, stopping the two and asking why Eita hadn't warned her that he was dating, and he replies that everything happened very quickly. Masuzu in an ironic tone asks if he needed her permission to date Eita, and she says yes because she is his childhood friend and knows everything about him. Once again in an ironic tone, Masuzu says she is his girlfriend and had her blessing. Then she takes Eita's hand and says he would continue with the meeting of the two while leaving Chiwa there, and she calls Eita a traitor as if he was jealous. The scene cuts to the next day where Eita opens the balcony door and sees Chiwa practicing kendo in his garden. She says that just as he would find a boyfriend and be popular at school. Speaking of school, the next scene shows Eita there talking to his friend Kaoru, who was surprised to see that a guy who was against love like him is dating, and he replies that it's a shock for him too. He asks if Chiwa didn't come to school with him, but Eita says that she's been keeping her distance from him since yesterday. Kaoru says that now that he's dating he needs to sort things out with Chiwa already, that the two are practically family. Thinking about it, he talks to Misuzu about telling Chiwa that their relationship is fake, but she says no. She asks if it's true that Chiwa was wanting to become the most popular girl in school, and he says yes. She asks why that is, but he says he doesn't know. She then tells him to take Chiwa to her after school and says he would only find out what she was planning tomorrow. The next day after school he takes Chiwa to a room at the school where Misuzu was. She says she knows about her attempts to become a popular girl and invites her to join their club, luring her with a book that promised to make her very popular because the secret it was written there. Just to remember, this book is Ida's shameful diary. She tells a story about how she wrote down everything that worked for her to become popular there and asks Chiwa to let her become extremely popular, but Chiwa denies it. I start by saying that I couldn't accept this out of nowhere. Misuzu says it's okay, since she didn't want it would be just her and Eita alone in the club, and she already thinking nonsense decides to enter too. The scene cuts with Eita asking her if it wasn't a hell of a lot of work to set up a club, but she says they let her use the tea club room that was shut down to create her own club. She decides to call this club a club for young maidens to recreate, where she would supposedly teach girls how to behaving better and everything. The next scene shows Misuzu making a plan for Chiwa to find a boyfriend. She says that first she needs to find a target and asks if there is someone she likes, but she says no. However, after thinking about it little by little, she says there's a guy on the basketball team who seems cool and popular, so she decides to pick him even though she doesn't seem too excited about it. However, Misuzu says she would be excited after understanding the plan and says to approach one popular guy like him she would need to focus on his younger brother who was in the same class as them and liked guitar. So she makes Chiwa walk around with a guitar in addition to saying rocker phrases to attract this boy. The problem is that she didn't know anything about Western music and didn't even know the bands that played, so Misuzu tells her to read JoJo Part 4 because the Attons had band-inspired names. She arrives in the classroom with a guitar a while later and manages to attract the attention of that man, but however she gets nervous when he and other girls start asking her to play and she just leaves there with embarrassment. Meanwhile, Misuzu laughs at the situation. Eita calls her cruel. The scene cuts with him scolding her Chiwa in the club room for making that joke. She says that at least people will remember her, and Misuzu says that if the goal was to be remembered she did a good job. Chiwa asks how the two decided to be together, and Misuzu says that he saw her pant and that's why she had to stay with him, leaving Chiwa so mad that she beat him up. Misuzu starts to play with his feelings and the jealous Chiwa leaves. Misuzu asks why that he spends so much time with Chiwa, and he says it's because they're childhood friends, and then she says that of his many childhood friends he only keeps in touch with Chiwa, and he explains that it's because they live close. She says that he thought Chiwa was going to leave the club after what happened in the classroom, but there she was with a calm expression as if everything was alright. Eita explains that she won't leave the club on her own, not until she reaches his goal. He explains that she was in the judo club and loved the sport. However, after suffering an accident she can never practice that sport or any other again. Basically, she had lost her dream, but with this thing of becoming popular she gained another light in her life, and she would certainly persevere until she got what she wants. Misuzu says she understood, and then she bends down getting very close to him. She then says in his ear that she doesn't want him to be kind to anyone else in front of her. Jeez doesn't understand because that was just a fake dating, but she says that even so he was just her. The story continues a while later with Misuzu warning them that possibly they would fight. Eita doesn't understand, but she explains that they needed to stand out because that would make them much more popular. Then she opens Eita's shame diary and begins quoting a passage that leaves him dying of embarrassment that involved his time with the syndrome in the 8th grade where he was crazy as hell. Chiwa doesn't understand anything but says that it's fine and asks who she should fight, but Misuzu says that she no need to fight, but just pretend like you're fighting someone, and then says she's going to write the script and all she should do is act on that script. She ends by saying they should only act on it for 3 days and then they would become super popular, leaving Chiwa excited. The scene cuts with them in the classroom getting ready to execute the plan. Suddenly Chiwa opens the door and starts acting as if she were in a magical world, and Eita acting too. After she leaves, everyone starts applauding them, saying they loved their show and imagining it was a comedy performance, which leaves Misuzu devastated because she wrote it to be something serious. Then they gather in the club to talk about it, the plan that didn't work out, or did it? Yeah, Masuzu says that the popular guy Chiwa is trying to win over, likes comedy and wanted to come up with a plan involving, but Chiwa says that she would confess to him. The scene cuts to after class where Ida asks Chiwa if she really wanted to do that and she says yes, but by her reaction it could be seen that she didn't. Ida says he would have a party to celebrate if his plan works out and Masuzu suggests Chiwa put a love letter in his closet. That's what she does and waits for his presence on the roof of the school. He appears there and says he always thought she was cute, inviting her to see a movie on Sunday. The episode progresses with the three leaving school. Masuzu says having noticed that she didn't seem very happy, but she denies, saying she is. At dinner time, Ida calls Chiwa and surprises her with everything she likes to celebrate her success. However, she with a sad look asks if everything is really okay for him. She has a boyfriend and he doesn't understand why she said that. She then says that that's not a reason to celebrate and starts crying. She says she wishes the two had never become friends and should have just been colleagues, normal class. Ida doesn't understand anything and says he considers her part of his family, but she says that's the problem and leaves crying. Then a flashback happens showing Chiwa hitting Ida's house after running away from the hospital where she was hospitalized thanks to the accident. She seems to be fine, so Ida says that soon she will be able to practice kendo again and do the things she liked, but she explains that she won't be able to practice kendo again. He is surprised to hear that and says that her doctor must be crazy, but she says no. Looking at her crutches, he makes a joke saying that he will become a doctor to cure her, and she starts crying when she hears that. At that moment he made the real decision to be a doctor and promised that he would find a way to cure her. Back in the present, Masuzu, who was looking at his diary, wonders how he can be so stupid, surely referring to the fact that he didn't notice that Chiwa likes him. The next episode starts with Ida thinking about everything Chiwa said last night. He suddenly realizes that he was late for an appointment, the appointment being to see Chiwa's date, at least the beginning of it, as he explains to Masuzu, who appears there. He says that he will only stay until the guy arrives and then he would go to the city library to study. He notices that Chiwa was wearing a nice outfit and Masuzu says that she prepared it. However, the more time passes the guy just wouldn't arrive, but Chiwa wouldn't leave. Looking closer at Ida, he notices that that guy arrived, but he wasn't alone. He was surrounded by his little friends and was making a bet on whether Chiwa would wait for him until 11 or not. They get close to her and start making fun of her, with the girls saying that he would never go out with her, and of course seeing this Ida tries to get involved, but Masuzu holds him back, saying that now it may be that Chiwa finally realizes that this love thing is not worth it and he would become someone who hates love just like them. But when he remembers her shattered dream of not being able to practice kendo, he decides to act and says that no matter how much he and she hate love and are like that, it doesn't mean that they have to force someone else to be like that too. Besides saying that Chiwa is not like that, he says that he would be back soon, leaving to look for her. But Masuzu grabs his arm, saying not to leave him alone, but he goes anyway, saying who would save the day. She makes a mean face after he walks away from her, calling him clueless. When he gets there, he activates his 8th grade syndrome mode and starts acting exactly like the hero he described himself to be in that shameful diary. That guy who tricked Chiwa and the others were almost leaving. He was so crazy that he was looking, but Jeez throws himself on top of that guy, telling him to apologize. Of course, he is ambushed by his friends and ends up getting beat badly. Chiwa tells him not to fight with these assholes, and one of them gets mad when he hears her calling him that. He walks towards her, but someone throws a kendo sword in her direction and she beats him up when he picks up that sword on everyone in the group easily. But in the end she apologizes, saying that she didn't like this guy at all and said that she would get a boyfriend, so she ended up choosing random. She says that she wanted to solve it and this guy says that it's okay and that he never wanted to again. Sees them again with a tone of fear and she says the same. After that she helps Ida, who was all chipped on the floor, and in the background the anime shows Masuzu leaving. The next day at school, Ida became kind of the topic of the moment and notices that Masuzu was absent. Kaoru says that she must have been mad at him for protecting another girl, and the scene cuts with him supporting the school going where Masuzu lived and noticing that she lived in a completely opposite direction to, so there was no reason for her to come home with him after school. Then she appears hugging him from behind, giving him a scare. He asks if she was the one who threw that sword to Chiwa and she replies that yes. He thanks her and asks why she was absent the day before and she explains that she pretended to be sick. He asks if the club would continue again and she replies that yes. After they walk some more and have a chat, she says that he knows a lot about Chiwa and him. He reply that it's because they are childhood friends. Then she stops in front of him and kisses him out of nowhere. Yes, big movie kiss. And after the kiss says that his first kiss was not with Chiwa but with her. He asks if it was okay she had her first kiss with a fake boyfriend, but she makes a reference to a sentence from part 1 of JoJo, says that he is the only one she would kiss. The scene cuts with him opening the bathroom door at home and seeing Chiwa there. After closing the door in fright he asks what she was doing there, but she says that the bathtub at her house broke and she warned him by message that she would use his. She says in a low voice that she would not let Masuzu win him, and when he goes to the kitchen, guess who was there? Yes, Masuzu, saying she was going to make him breakfast. She also warned him by message, but the guy managed not to see the message from both. She hears a woman's voice coming from the bathroom, but Jeez makes an excuse saying it's yours aunt and goes there to see what Chiwa wants. The same thing happens with Masuzu and he tells Chiwa that it was his aunt who was at home. Of course he can't stop the two from meeting and they don't like her at all presence of each other. Will the competition for Eita start now? Maybe. I just know that this was the summary of the first 4 episodes of Oreshura. If you want a part 2 continuing the story, you already know what to do. Comment, like the video and send it to someone else.